It's amazing how things can turn out sometimes. I'm sitting here, it's 1 in the morning on September the 9th, and I've seen something that I never thought I would see happen. I'm literally seeing the end of the F1 community as we know it. F1 2015 has broken this community. It's crazy. I never thought I would see the day. F1 2015, as we probably know by now, is a grind. It's a grind to make videos out of because the game literally is an empty package. It's like being excited for a DVD in the mail and then finding the Amazon package come through your letterbox. You open it and you find out there's nothing in it. That's what F1 2015 is. It's just races. That's it. That's all there is to it. Online is unplayable, and as a result of online being unplayable, you've only got a single player experience, and the single player experience is do races. That's it. There's no variance to it. There's no incentive to keep playing. There's nothing to unlock. There's no reason to give the game a serious amount of time. It's an empty shell. That's what F1 2015 is, and that's why all you can do is a boring championship season mode, which, because of the nature of championship season as opposed to a career, there's even less variety to it than F1 2014's career mode was already monotone as it was, and stale, given it was basically the fifth consecutive game actually, with pretty much the same career mode from start to finish. This one's got even less. You can't even change teams mid-season. That's not really much of an incentive anyway, but even so, there's nothing to it. You can only be one of the 20 drivers on the grid. Only the hardcores picked McLaren. Only Arav and Matty, predominantly of the big players, picked McLaren. Manor was off the table pretty much, and only, again, the proper hardcore players like Noble ended up choosing Max Verstappen, and even then he's stopped playing, and that's a shame because Noble was genuinely brilliant to watch because of just how fucking good he was. So this is the state of the F1 community as it stands. There is practically no game for us to play. It's almost now forced us all into varying out into other games, and I've been sitting here for the last 2 years thinking, where you guys been? You must be new to this whole playing other games thing. So I've been doing that for, nearly 3 years now? It's crazy. I started out playing Madden and FIFA originally. I played a lot of Forza 4 as well back on the days of my 360. And Forza 6 is coming, and in a couple of days for this channel. And it's amazing how this game has sucked the life out of the community. The players that want to play it for YouTube purposes have nothing to record. There's nothing here. Like, if we had league racing, I think we'd be just about okay. Because, you'd have the AOR, you'd have Nebula, you'd have Pinnacle, etc. You'd have the BPRL and all the other major leagues out there doing races, and that would be captivating to watch because it's better than watching the AI all day. We haven't even got that, because the online's unplayable. So now I'm seeing a whole bunch of variants and ideas from people like, we're going, I've seen talk about going back to Project Cars, which apparently is a lot better now than what it was when it came out, but Project Cars just highlights the problem with leaving a bad impression on a game. Project Cars came out early May, and it came out a buggy mess. And, people are considering going back to it 4 months later, but I think it's like locking the gate after the horse has bolted. Is that really going to generate long-term longevity again? Project Cars is practically dead, and I think that's one of the biggest problems of us F1 community guys when it comes to YouTube is fads. We buy into fads. We hype ourselves up into a tizzy over potential other games to play, then drop off the horse the moment things get mediocre. It's happened for a while. It happened with Grid 2 back in 2012 that was. About 2013, I think that Grid 2 for me was the first real non-racing game, or not a racing game that wasn't F1, that I saw people get excited about. Everybody bought Grid 2, and Grid 2 ended up being shit, mostly because the handling model was garbage. And it's a shame because Grid 2 had a ton of potential. Grid 2 had the World Series of Racing game, which I thought was an excellent idea. The presentation was incredible. I loved it. I loved the ESPN feel to it. I loved the fact they got Toby Moody to take part in the video segments. I thought it looked really cool, and I thought this had a lot of potential, and it just didn't work out. Then you had Grid Autosport, was another example of a game that people thought they might see an alternative for, but everybody dropped off the wagon real quick with that one. Autosport was the right game at the wrong time. I stand by this. Autosport was genuinely a great game. It was the closest thing we'll ever get to a TOCA remake, and I thought it was excellent, but it was on previous gen, right when the next gen consoles came out. It was a terrible decision for Codemasters to release it as a previous gen title. They had to go next gen with that. In fact, I think if they released it next gen, I think it would have done quite well. It still had the Grid name behind it. People loved the original. I love the original. It's my crowning glory on this channel, was to do a full Grid Let's Play, and it ended up being amazing, and I still hang my hat on that series as being the best I've ever done on this channel. It had the name. Autosport genuinely played very well, but it had no longevity on YouTube because people couldn't be asked to turn their 360s on again when most of them had PS4s or Xbox Ones by now. And that's why Autosport died off so quick. And the same thing happened with Project Cars earlier this year. Project Cars is genuinely a pretty darn great racing game in general, to be honest with you, but it just had too many issues that I think put people off. And, no racing game has had a main staple in this community since, the F1 game started, and since most people like me and Mickey Motions and Alex Afro was doing this back when F1 2010 and 11 was a thing. No game has been able to become a side part in stable of the franchise. I think Forza Horizon 2's got a lot of potential, but it's still kind of one-dimensional in that regard. There's only so much you can do with that. The Forza series is dipped in and out. I'm curious to see if Forza 6 sticks around for the long run or not. The MotoGP series has been one that I've constantly told people to get behind, and some people have. I know Kev has, I know Owen H5 has, I know a couple other guys that have done it, like NF Gamer's gone on and off, which is a shame because I think that MotoGP 15 is a genuinely excellent game, and I think it's a game that is surprisingly watchable, and I've turned it into a thing on my channel, and I love playing MotoGP 15, which is a shame really, but I've seen suggestions of GTA, FIFA, etc., and people just branching that into second channels, and I must say I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad that the community's taken a bigger emphasis to try and just have fun with this thing, as opposed to just, sticking with F1 2015 through sheer stubbornness. I think the only two major players that are still doing it is Ben and Arav, and they are so sub-focused that they're never going to deviate from that. Well, maybe not so much Arav. Maybe I know he wants to play Forza 6, and I know he wants to badly do Need for Speed when that comes out in November. But I don't know what Ben's doing really, because he's done a bit of Project Cars, but he skipped series with that as time went on, and he's done a couple of Forza 6 demo vids. I don't know if that's going to stick around when the main game comes out, either next week or Thursday, depending if ever he got the Ultimate Edition or not. But boy, I've come to the executive decision that I'm probably never going to buy another Cody's F1 game again unless dramatic changes are done. As it stands, I think F1 2015 is pretty much done for me on this channel, unless there's either one colossal update to actually add new features into the game, or maybe if online gets completely fixed, which I doubt, because Cody's has never had perfect online of any of their racing games, especially their F1 franchise. I doubt that's ever going to happen, and I will not buy next year's game unless I have confirmed assurances that the quality will be better and the game reinserts a lot of its features from the previous games, because like I mentioned before, 2014 may have been an underwhelming game for many reasons, but it still had a scenario mode, it still had season challenge, it still had at least functional multiplayer. That automatically makes it a way better game than 2015. I may have been too generous giving it a 5.5 compared to giving it a 6 to F1 2014, because in hindsight, 2014 wasn't that bad a game. The only thing that was really bad about it was, a reduction of features from the previous year's game and poor graphics, because it was on previous gen. In hindsight, 2015 plays great, but that's all it does. It's more like a tech demo than a video game at this point. And I think that's why it's killed the community, well, at least as it is, anyway. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what goes on from here. And you know, this is more like one of those state of the community videos, because it just feels like this is kind of like the end of an era. I feel like we're all moving on from Formula 1 to a degree. I don't know if... I mean, what worries me is that I'm afraid people are going to hop right back on the wagon with F1 2016, and it's going to be the same process. Like, 2015 was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of people. We recreated surveys, we had discussions, we had open hangouts and discussions, and you know, trying to see where the development goes forward. And I think we overrate our own influence sometimes, because you know, it's kind of been a hand-in-hand frustrating thing with Codemasters community managers leaving as time goes on. I mean, Lee Williams, you may have seen, has now gone to EA, and you know, we had Mark Buckley, and Mark took the job and quit about a month later, which was really unfortunate. So you know, it's been a difficult time as a fan of the Cody series. Now, I'm not going to go out and be one of these guys that goes on the record and says that somebody else needs the license. There's no guarantee that EA would make anything better. You know, you would have no community influence really, because EA are EA. They're a huge company, and they have a terrible reputation when it comes to these things. And there's no guarantee their game would be any better either. But I think people are just so tired of Cody's as the license holder, because I just don't think they can handle the game as a yearly franchise. I just don't think they can do it. I mean, we had 10 months between F1 2014 and 15 to the game of what we've got now, and this game is already dead after 6 weeks. That's astonishing. That should not happen for any game. If you've picked up a game, rinsed it, and you never have any desire to play it again after 6 weeks, or maybe 10 hours of play, then that's a problem. That's a serious problem. And I'm curious to see where you're going from here. If you're a video maker, I'd love to hear what your plans are. Are you gonna stick the game out? Are you gonna try and see what happens, if things get better or not? I'd love to hear what you're going to do. I'm curious. I just thought I'd get this one out there, get my general thoughts out there, because I think focusing on MotoGP and Forza 6 is going to be good for me. I'm probably going to be like a really poor man slap train, but you know, Forza 6 is coming, and I can't wait to get stuck in it. It's just nice to be excited about playing a video game again, to be honest with you, and that feeling alone is pretty nice. So I'm looking forward to that. Until then, let me know what you guys feel about making videos, about the community in general. I'd love to hear your thoughts as always. I just feel like getting this out there and seeing what's stuck. Until then, I've been Harrison101. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.